What's going on, Dolphins fans? Jacob here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. I just want to start off by saying big appreciation to all of you guys who've been supporting the channel recently. The video's been doing really well. Got a lot of you guys coming in for the first time recently. So any of y'all that have been sticking around for a while, appreciate y'all. Any of y'all newcomers, appreciate y'all. If you've been watching our videos for a little bit now, especially since the start of free agency, and you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button down below. Again, we greatly appreciate y'all and love y'all for that. Today, what we're going to do is take a look at positions of need still on the Miami Dolphins. I want to start this off with saying that the Miami Dolphins have done a really good job at recouping losses, especially on the defense, and making do with the situation at hand with the salary cap and with the players that the Miami Dolphins had to let walk or they cut earlier on in the offseason. They've done a really good job at recouping those losses and doing so with 1 or 2 year deals. Has been guys that have been brought in that come to mind that have been brought in on large, long-term contracts. In the video I made last week, breaking down all of the moves and the things that has happened with the Miami Dolphins since free agency has started, I talked about how the Dolphins are setting themselves up to give the likes of Tua, Jalen Waddle, Javon Holland extensions, whereas if they did that right now with Christian Wilkins, Andrew Van Ginkel, Robert Hunt, etc., that would make that very difficult. So the Miami Dolphins are prioritizing those guys over the guys that they have let walk. And with that, with those guys being let walk, as well as just overall needs of the team, there are still areas of importance for the Miami Dolphins that they need to fill up. And I think with what they've done so far, the biggest position of need that the Miami Dolphins have to fill is the wide receiver 3 position. The wide receiver 3 position has been a significant drop-off in production ever since Mike McDaniel took over 2 years ago. You know, you have the two alphas, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Even if Jalen Waddle has himself relative down year like he did last year, you know you're going to get at minimum probably around the 1,000 yards mark with Jalen Waddle, and then with Tyreek Hill, the sky's the limit. You know, there was a chase last year for 2,000 yards. Had he not get injured, maybe he would have hit that, maybe not. But you know you're getting from those two guys top production, arguably the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. But then once you work your way down to the wide receiver 3 position, it does really see a significant drop off. And we are blessed to have those two guys, but you need to find production somewhere else. And that's a word that I've been saying so much on videos recently. I've been watching the videos back, and I went into this saying I'm not going to say production, but here we are. The two wide receiver 3s that we've had over the last couple of years, well, there's been a few guys that have been vying back and forth. There's been Cedric Wilson, there's been Trent Sherfield, there's been Braxton Berrios. No matter how you chalk it up, none of those 3 guys have had a season of above 500 yards for the Miami Dolphins. And you can see that, especially towards the end of the season last year, when teams got a little more physical, when teams started to lock down Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, there was no other option for this offense to go to other than those guys in the passing game, especially since we didn't have a serviceable tight end. Just said it again. It's going to happen. Tight end, bringing Jonnu Smith. Very happy with that. That's going to open up some stuff underneath and provide a little bit more of a physical nature to the offense. But bringing in a wide receiver 3, and there are guys out there. We're going to do probably more videos breaking down individual guys, but Michael Thomas, Tyler Boyd, there are some talented guys out there on free agency right now that you could bring in, that if they're looking for an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, you know, you're not going to get top dollar. There's also Odell Beckham Jr., just did the same thing with the Baltimore Ravens. If you're not looking for a long-term deal, if you're not looking for the top of the market money, this is an opportunity for some of those guys to come in and provide a very good role for a already really good offense. Beyond that, I'm looking at, for sure, another edge rusher. When you look at the injuries that we sustained at the end of the last season at that position with Bradley Chubb, with Jalen Phillips, and you bring in Shaq Barrett, who I like, I don't love because of his age, and 2019 he had that massive season where he had nearly 20 sacks, getting close to that all-time record. Since then, I don't even know if he's had that many total in the 4 years. It's probably about close to that mark. He's definitely starting to feel his age. You don't want him out there for more than probably 70% of snaps, but he's going to have to because of the dire situation. He is going to be the day 1 starter, week 1 starter for the Miami Dolphins because Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips are going to be out. We'll see how long that is, half of the season, quarter of the season. I usually tend to lean more on the negative side when it comes to injuries, especially serious injuries like they sustained last year. So if we could have both of them back by week 8, I'd be thrilled. If we had neither of them back by week 8, yeah, that's some trouble. Until then, you're going to have to either rely on practice squad guys that were brought in or kept from last year, Shaq Barrett, or you can hit the streets, find yourself another edge, hit the draft, find an edge. You got to have somebody else at that edge position attacking the opposing team's quarterbacks. Then beyond those two, I don't think there is as significant of a need as there are for those two positions. I think those two are up top by themselves in terms of needs. You look at the offensive line and the signings we've made, and while yes, they're not great, at the very least, you have guys available at that position, which is more than you can say really at the edge rusher. Whether those guys will find the same success that we found earlier last season when the offensive line was one of the best offensive lines in the league, that is still yet to be seen. However, they do at the very least have guys. They have brought in guys that I feel there's going to be a healthy competition level going into next season on the offensive line. But then probably my next one would be, if not continue to add to the interior on the offensive line, just because I don't think you can have enough talented guys at that position. I'm looking at the interior of the defensive line as well in the same exact argument. They have 8 interior defensive linemen on the active roster, and outside of Zach Sealer, I don't trust a single one of them. So if you could find maybe in the second round of the draft, third round of the draft, a guy that you could develop, because that's going to be a position of need not just for this year but the years to come. There is no long-term answer at the defensive tackle position other than Zach Sealer. So I'd like to actually see the Dolphins go to the draft like that, like I just mentioned. Another safety, currently 3 safeties on the team: Elijah Campbell, Javon Holland coming over from last season, obviously adding Jordan Poyer. Ideally, having 4 safeties and then also a guy that can play both, which Elijah Campbell can do. He can play safety, he can play corner. So you want to get probably another safety in, and that's pretty much it. You could add another corner. You can't ever have enough corners in the NFL as things stand, with such a pass-heavy league. But the Miami Dolphins are in a really blessed position that they've, like I mentioned earlier in the video, just recouped their losses from free agency very well, and now can look to the draft specifically. And when you enter the draft, yes, there's positions of need, but you can just probably draft the best player on the board and feel great about that. I feel good going into next season. The Dolphins can maintain the level they were at last year, and then if the guys they brought in exceed expectations, for me, playoff push, playoff wins, and beyond. I think I covered everything there. I think I covered all positions. Again, that's wide receiver 3, it's edge rusher. If you want to be luxurious, interior offensive line, interior defensive line, an additional safety, an additional corner. But I think the Dolphins, if you rolled into the season today, they've made the best out of a bad situation. There's going to be some guys playing, getting some minutes that you don't know, you're not comfortable with, that are going to be given the opportunity to prove themselves. But it's still a very talented roster and a team that can for sure compete starting next year. If there's anything that I missed, if there's any positions or any specific guys you'd like to see the Miami Dolphins bring in, let me know down below in the comments. While down there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate y'all very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.